Hello and welcome to this Bloomberg Quint conversation. The economic survey for 2016-17 has been presented. As always, the document is a mix of the state of the economy, the outlook for the economy, and some big economic ideas. Big economic ideas that should be discussed, although not necessarily implemented. This time around, there are two big ideas in the economic survey. The first of them being the universal basic income, and the second one being the bad bank. Arvind Subramanian, Chief Economic Advisor, is joining us here on Bloomberg Quint to try and discuss some of those ideas and give us the thinking behind them. So thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us. Let me first ask you about the UBI. In your document itself, you talk about the fact that this is going to be prohibitively expensive for the economy. 4.9% of GDP is one estimate that you have based your calculations on. In fact, even that estimate doesn't take care of universality of a basic income. Why then are you bringing it up to the discussion forum right now when we know that we can't afford it?
See, for 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, about 8-9 months ago, a series of Indian economists had discussed this. Vijay Joshi's book had this, Debraj Ray, Pranab Bardhan, Abhijit Banerjee, they all raised it. And of course, internationally also this idea was gaining currency, right? The second reason, of course, is that if you look at one of the chapters, the chapter 2 in the survey, it talks about one of the meta challenges facing the Indian economy, which is, that we have very inefficient redistribution in India. So UBI is actually a way, at the same time, one fell swoop, you can, eliminate poverty. That's the kind of attractiveness of the idea. But also in a way that can improve upon the targeting of existing programs. And we provide new evidence to show that, targeting of current programs is not great. So a combination of all these things suggested that, UBI would be a good topic to discuss. We've done a lot of work. And remember, the aim of the survey is to come up with ideas for, public policy discussion. So we're not saying that the time is ripe to implement this, but certainly the time is ripe to have a full, engaging debate on this in the public domain.
So you're very clear that this is not the time to implement it, and you're saying that because our finances can't take care of it, because even if you take away existing subsidies which you recommend, you only get space of about 3% of GDP. That still leaves about 2% of GDP that you need to come up with from somewhere to actually be able to go ahead with this plan.
Yeah. I mean, the time is not ripe for implementation because we also have to work through a number of implementation challenges. One of them is what you said, right? I mean, this is simply not affordable if you, if it becomes an another add-on program. So it will have to, replace existing programs, and then you have to see, is there a political appetite to phase out existing programs. That's one challenge. The other challenge is, is how do you exactly design this? On the one hand, universality is an appeal of this idea, but on the other hand, I don't think the mahal, as it were, is ready to accept checks going to very, very rich people in India. So you have to balance de jure universality, but de facto maybe quasi-universality. That is that some people have to be excluded. So there are a number of issues like this which have to be thrashed out, and that's why I think the time is not yet ripe for implementation.
Let me ask you about the bad bank idea. Now, essentially, what you're saying is that you need a public sector asset reconstruction company. The idea is, say, similar to a bad bank. But I'm not sure why you think that's a feasible idea. I mean, think about the logistics of it. How do you transfer this whole host of bad assets to this agency? What price do you transfer at? How do these then get resolved? All of those issues seem to make a bad bank solution something that is not particularly feasible, even though we know that the bad loan problem needs to be solved.
See, I think that the argument is very simple, right? That sure, we have a very difficult problem. It's been there for a very long time, and all the existing attempts to address the problem have not been very successful. So, so you have to try something new and different. And so then the question is, what should that new solution be? And if you hone in on what is the heart of the problem is that it's about resolving company debts. It's not just about banks. It's about, the biggest amount of loans, stressed loans, are with the big companies. We may need to write down debt. It's not a morality play. It has to be an economic decision. And it will be politically very difficult to, actually write down these debts, and doing it in the current decentralized, uncoordinated fashion. That may need to be replaced with something more centralized, something with more political cover, and that's how the idea came about. Now, it's not. There are difficulties with this, as you quite rightly pointed out. I mean, how do you transfer what price do you transfer the asset? What kind of private sector involvement there's going to be? Will it be politically easy to take these decisions? These are all issues that will necessarily come up. But remember, it's a very difficult problem. Let's not be in any illusion about how easy it is. But all current strategies have not delivered, and the longer you wait, the greater the costs, and the greater the cost in terms of the fiscal cost, but also the more prolonged the impact on the economy.
There is also the issue of capital, Mr. Subramaniam. I mean, the issue of capital doesn't go away with the creation of a bad bank. You either need capital for your public sector banks, or you need capital for this bad bank. Where do we get that money from? You seem to be suggesting that one way to get that capital is to dip into the Reserve Bank of India's balance sheet and get capital out of there.
Yeah, I think that in this, to me, finding the capital is it's important. It's a lesser of the problems, because remember, in this it is only a matter of actually recognizing the reality. The government is going to take a hit in some form or the other, because these bad loans are already there. So it's not something new, incremental. So that's one thing. So I think, and then the RBI is a potential source of resources. I think the private sector is a potential source of resources, and government also is a potential source of resources. So through all these channels, I think the resources can be found, and they have to be found in any case, because, as I said, the problem is there already.
But you're convinced that taking these stressed assets off the books of banks, putting them in another agency, will help revive the investment cycle. You're convinced that that will happen because there are other arguments for the investment cycle being subdued, capacity utilization levels, for instance.
See, I think, in this business, we never know for sure whether it's one factor or the other. All we know is that we have to act on all fronts. There's a capacity utilization demand issue which we need to address, but there's also the supply of credit, that issue. So we have to address that as well. And the whole bad bank idea, falls into the latter category. But governments have to do everything to get credit and investment up and running again.
I want to come back to the issue of the RBI's balance sheet. This is the second economic survey in which you've actually brought up this suggestion. You have said that the RBI is holding too much capital. By global standards, you can take away some of this capital. Let me put two counter arguments. One is that the RBI's capital essentially is the government's asset, and you have to look at the two balance sheets together. And the second is that if you take this capital of the RBI's balance sheets, its ability to actually buy government bonds goes down. Do you not think that those two arguments are credible?
See, as you've seen, we've done some extensive analysis of this. I think the argument that the RBI needs all this capital for prudential and insurance reasons, that doesn't seem to be borne out, because you look at the cross country, we are just way over the top in terms of how much government capital there is. So that's point number one. So point number two is that, do we need all this capital to buy bonds? I think if you look at the numbers, that doesn't seem to be the case. I think there's enough capital and for the government to be able to, RBI to be able to buy government bonds. And the other thing to remember is that, when you talk about the need for a capital against, insurance, remember that the RBI has a lot of foreign exchange reserves. You suffer losses when the exchange rate appreciates, not when it depreciates. So, is that likely to happen? Is that something that the RBI can prevent? These are the issues I think that we analyze, and we come away with the impression that, that's not a serious problem, not a serious challenge. But remember, this is an idea. I think all this has to be done very cooperatively with the RBI. There is no question of, raiding the RBI or doing anything against the RBI's wishes. So it's just an idea. I think there is an analytical argument, but I think it has to be worked out, discussed very cooperatively between government and RBI.
A last word, Mr. Subramaniam, because I know you have to go, on the fiscal stance that you have taken in the economic survey. You've been far more careful this time compared to the last survey, and it's actually a little confusing as to what you're saying. Are you saying that you're open to some sort of expansion of fiscal targets? Do you want a range? Your comments are very double-sided in this particular survey.
The answer to that is both in one of the chapters, and also you'll get the answer tomorrow in the budget. And of course, when the FRBM comes out, let's have a fuller discussion on that. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam, for speaking to us. This is Bloomberg Quint. Keep tracking us on BloombergQuint.com for all the latest on the economic survey and the union budget.